Hey guys, Nick here, and today we're going to talk about bridge officer rotations. So, just before we get started on a quick, I want to say, not really an apology, but uh, yeah, just so everybody knows, new work has been a little crazy this last week. I did quite a few hours this week. Yeah, good for the bank account, not so great for the YouTube upload schedule or the social life. So, there's that, and as well with the patch this last Thursday. My private ISC group that I run with, that includes McStew, Casual Sab, Brett's gaming channel, Megla, Rob, and Cables, and now Steven at Gilgalad, who's a moderator for my Discord. That means that was taking up a lot of time, guys, and it was quite fruitful. I got a new ISC record tonight of 3.1, just under 3.1 million, just 3,093,000 in ISC. That's put me second on the ISC table for SCM. I don't know how it is for the other tables. I don't look at those. I just focus on SCM. So I was quite excited tonight. I have a video recording of it. I did actually manage to record it, and there's a lot of swearing. So I'm contemplating, do I put that up for members only and just non-monetize it? I'm just seeing what will happen with that. But anyway, guys, to today's video, bridge officer rotation. So I won't say categorize, but when I'm thinking about a bridge officer rotation, when I'm building out a ship, you go, what do you want running on 100% of the time, or what do you want to be activating 100% of the time? So basically, one that's something you never want sitting like available to hit for too long. So that's your damage buffs, your firing modes, your unconventional systems procs, your cooldown reduction methods, and so on. But there's abilities, say, like Gravity Well or Reverse Shield Polarity or Delayed Overload Cascade, where those need to be timed correctly. You know, so you don't want to be using them willy nilly. You want to be, okay, that concentrate firepowers, it needs to be on big targets that'll survive more than 2 seconds, because for torpedoes, concentrate firepower is like your bread and butter to make sure you're firing torpedoes. And say, like for a science build, Gravity Well wants to be on a big grouping of targets so that you can use your big AoE damage on all these targets. So you just think about those things, but majority of the time, most things are you're going to want to spam bar them, use them all the time, and have them. But when you think about our rotation, for an energy weapon build, my rotation has always been firing mode first. Firing mode is number one. Then by my damage buffs, maybe my universal console, like Immolating Phase Lance. It's not a bridge officer, but it's in that point of I want my firing mode first, I want my damage buffs, then I want my cooldown reduction methods, then I want my unconventional systems procs to be all the way at the end, because I want those to make sure they're catching my universal consoles, and by having them at the end of my spam bar means they are catching my universal consoles and bringing them off cooldown. But I'll walk through real quick. So being a cannon scatter volley build, cannon scatter volley is my number one, and it will always be my number one on my spam bar on my rotation. Then I have my attack pattern alpha. So attack pattern alpha is here because it is a huge damage buff for a tactical. So we want this running as much as it can be possible. So just before you fly into a scenario, you hit attack pattern alpha, and that gives you a nice big damage buff. So you see here, 50% all damage, I'm rounding up, 50% bonus all damage, as my entire buff seating just unslots as I'm talking about it, not even doing anything. That's amazing. 5% crit severity, 50%, 5% crit chance, 50% severity. So that's like almost 100% damage bonus, because, if you have 100% crit, 50% crit severity is basically a 50% damage buff, because if you're critting 100% of the time, that's 50% bonus damage because you're just critting 50% harder. And, then fly 100% turn rate for 20 seconds. If you have enough crits with Intelligent Attaché, that means your attack pattern alpha is up a significant amount of time. So that means for my rotation, I want that up first, because it means, or second, sorry, I want that up second. It means that will be going as much as possible. I won't get caught down at the back of my spam bar, maybe not getting hit that often. Then I have override subsystem safeties. Same again. It's plus 50 all power levels. So for energy weapons, the reason why this is massive is weapon power is a damage modifier for energy weapons. So having plus 50 weapon power is massive damage bonus for energy weapons. So if you're running a ship that can run override subsystem safety 3, do so because it's a really big damage buff. Go down fighting, same again. I just, with the cooldown reduction with intelligent agent attaché, I want this running as much as possible, so it's up near the top of my spam bar. Then emergency powder weapons. Emergency powder weapons is here because it's a proc for my traits. Emergency weapons cycle for the minus 50 weapon power cost and the 20% fire cycling haste. So it's up near the top because it's a proc. I want it running as often as it can be. And with my cooldown reduction, it's basically 100% of the time. Then we have torpedo spread. So this, with this build, actually doesn't need to be here because I'm running the Maelstrom torpedo. But say you're running the dark matter, you just want to be firing out as many torpedoes as you can be. So up near the top of the spam bar to be firing out torp spread 3s as often as you can. Attack pattern beta. So this is just a nice weapon buff. It's there just so it's up as often as it can be. Chemosite lace weaponry is here as just a little and a weapon enhancement. So it's 100% proc on torps and a 10% chance on energy weapons. So it gives me a nice little damage bonus. I probably should have it a little higher, like in front of my torpedo spread. So when I fire my Maelstrom, I'm getting more out of it. But that's my issue. Then I have tactical initiative. So this is where I'm getting into my like, okay, these are nice. I want them to go off, but I'm not going to be too worried if they don't go off exactly at the right time. Tactical initiative is just a nice cooldown reduction method for your tactical abilities. Tractor beam catapult is it's a filler bridge officer ability for me on this build. So it's just a bit of damage going out as often as I can. I have beam overload as an unconventional systems proc because I have beam overload as a competitive engines proc. So it's down here to proc my engines because I really didn't have much else to. Well, that's great. Game is being great, so sorry I got back. So when hitting competitive engines with a firing mode, it'll give us the little bonus. Because I really didn't have a lot else to use in a tactical ensign slot, beam overload was my choice, and it means I just have more competitive engines procs. But because I don't really care exactly when this is going off, it's just down at the back of my spam bar to go off as often as it can. Focus Frenzy is your tactical alt, so we call this a tactical alt. In your skills, you get to here, tactical ultimate ability. So when you have enough points in tac, sci, or engineering, you get the ultimate ability, and this is it. It's like basically once per scenario with its cooldown reduction for just damage bonuses. So I personally just like to use it as often as I can. Vulnerability assessment sweeps, same sort of scenario for me. I like it's something that's nice to go off. I'm not too worried about its timing. And then I have my unconventional systems proc. Viral Impulse Burst, Ionic Turbulence, Heisenberg Amplifier, Tractor Beam, and then Fire on My Mark is not a unconventional system proc. It's just a tactical ability that just does a bit of negative DRR to one target. So I'm not too worried about it. I just want it to go off once, and I'll be happy if it does. And then, last but not least, I have my emergency powered engines. Emergency powered engines on this build is here because it is a proc for my emergency con hologram. So I use emergency powered engines to recharge the cooldown on my evasive maneuvers so that I can get my evasive maneuvers up and just basically be a zippy big vengeance as often as I can be. Anyway, guys, just before we end, I want to show you just something a little different before I go. So I'm going to show you my Eagle build. So there's just a difference on rotations between a energy weapon build and a torpedo build. Torpedoes are a little different because torpedoes have a lot more, things need to be timed at certain circumstances. So you look here, 10 and 5 are still my spam bars, and it's just damage bonuses, torpedo firing mode, torpedoes, and universal consoles. So instead of the phase lines, I have the VOQ warhead multiple launch system, but the rest is all manually flicked. Torpedo Spread is manually clicked. Cannon Scatter Volley is manually clicked. My Tractor Beam is manually clicked. My Fly Her Apart is manually clicked. My Concentrate Firepower is manually clicked. My Vulnerability Assessment Sweep is manually clicked. And my Tactical Initiative is manually clicked because of, certain things with torpedo builds, you want to time them. Like torpedoes probably have the most manually timed abilities for the most optimal circumstance, like of most optimal use, because just of how they work, because of like torpedo lockouts. You can overwrite that with Concentrate Firepower, and then also with the trait Rapid Emitting Armaments with Tractor Beam that could kill yourself, like the attack pattern Nick, if you use it in the wrong time. So you don't want to spam bar it and not be thinking about it. So you want to be thinking about it, hitting it, and making sure you're not too close to the target that will kill yourself, like I do all the time. That's why the Rapid Emitting Armaments has the little nickname, the attack pattern Nick, because you can kill yourself quite easily with it, and I do all the time. Anyway, guys, that's going to be today's video. Just a different sort of video tonight. If you did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.